Hi guys, I recently did a story on the Oakland County Child Killers, and that story has so many twists, turns, ins, outs. I'm still researching on that one. But while I was doing that, I came across this interesting article, and it's from Monday, November 17th of 2014, and it says the CIA runs the pedophile rings. Now, this piqued my interest. For years, I've been asking, where are the children going? How can all these children be missing, never to be seen again at all? No children, no remains, nothing. Seriously, people, stop, think about it. Where are the children going? If you have children, you know they're not quiet. How could they not be observed, seen, heard, anything? Where are they going? And why are they missing from this certain area and that certain area and this one? You know, why are there areas that are more prone to the children missing than other areas? So this piqued my interest, and I thought I'd go over it with you. See what you guys think. So it starts with, right here, a picture of Eisenhower at the Bohemian Grove in 1950. And I'll just read it with you. The media has been telling us about child abuse and child murders associated with such places as the Arthur G. Dozier School in Marianna in Florida, Boys Town in Omaha, I think we've all heard of that one, Colonia Dignidad, I'm sorry if I butchered that, in Chile, certain children's homes and hospitals in Australia, Canada, the US, and the UK, certain child brothels in Thailand, Cambodia, London, etc. Marc Dutroix's cellars in Belgium. That one was a new one for me. Certain pool parties in Hollywood. I've heard a rumor. It has become clear that all of the above child abuse can be linked to the CIA and its friends. Now, I'm not going to use those three letters throughout this report because it may get me flagged. So I'm going to just refer to it as that three-letter agency. And this picture here is of Roger Dean Kaiser, who is the founder of the White House Boys, the boys of the Arthur G. Dozier School. You could say that the culprits are a Zionist Nazi mafia faction within that three-letter agency, Mossad, and the Pentagon. If the three-letter agency wants to control the boss of MI6, or the Secretary General of NATO, or a top Hollywood entertainer, or even the President of the United States, a member of a royal family, a newspaper editor, a key employee of Google, all it has to do is supply them with young girls or boys. In order to get the system in place, that three-letter agency has to know where children will be available for abuse. A guidebook is always helpful for that. So here's this handy-dandy little guidebook. In 1964, an American called Bob Damron published a book listing gay bars. That three-letter agency is reported to have photographs of certain top foreign dignitaries visiting such bars. From 1969-1970 onwards, you could buy the Spartacus guidebook, which listed the children brothels all around the world from Port-au-Prince to Pattaya. It was a very fat guidebook. It was advertised in the mainstream media, and it was available in the larger bookshops. In other words, the security services seemed to be encouraging people to buy the book. Now, the big question is, how on earth did Spartacus editors know the details of all these brothels around the world? The people most likely to know all the details were that three-letter agency and its friends. That three-letter agency has been linked to child abuse and child murder worldwide. Here's a picture of former priest John Stanford, publisher of Spartacus, Boy Links, USA, UK, Europe, and the world. The Spartacus Club and Spartacus International were run from Amsterdam by John Stanford. He is a former Roman Catholic priest from the UK. In 1995, Stanford died mysteriously in prison in Belgium at the age of 56. Spartacus members got a 10% discount at the Guest House Boy brothel in London. Here we have a little newspaper clip of evil men behind child sex empire. We have the boss, John Stanford. We have the manager. We have the headquarters. And we have the secretary. Peter Glencross, commercial manager of Spartacus, helped persuade Carol Kasser to turn her Elm guest house into a boy brothel. Peter Glencross reportedly set out to create a network of child brothels for Spartacus members. Customers of the Elm guest house included members of MI5 and a cabinet minister, reportedly. Now, according to the German blog Bruno Leaks, John D. Stanford was responsible for the exploitation of children in Thailand, Sri Lanka, and Philippines. In London, 5-star accolades are given by Spartacus to Heaven, Richard Branson, Subway, Napoleon, Bolts, and The Tent. The details of each of the Spartacus members, including their sexual preferences, the desired age of the children, and preferred counties of origin, are stored on a computer. An estimated 200,000 Nepalese children have been sold into sexual slavery in India. In Thailand, up to 250,000 children work in brothels. And in Colombia, 1/3 of the prostitutes are thought to be under the age of 14. In 1955, we have the earliest recorded instance of child abuse by Sir Jimmy Savile, who is believed to have worked for the security services. In the late 1950s, Savile visited Moscow. On one occasion, he gave a talk to the Israeli cabinet. He was a friend of the chief of the UK defense staff. We can go back to at least as far as 1950, when Eisenhower, Hoover, and Edward Teller attended the Bohemian Grove in California. Bohemian Grove is where top people meet and reportedly get involved in child abuse and worse. In other words, there's a long history of top people being involved in child abuse. What we're talking about is child sex slaves, produced by that 3-letter agency. In 1953, the U.S. government sanctioned Project MKUltra, the 3-letter agency's program to produce mind-controlled people, including child sex slaves. Experiments are carried out on large numbers of children taken from children's care homes, such as Boys Town. The MKUltra scientists, working in around 80 institutions, including Nazi war criminals, Donald Ewan Cameron worked on the program in Canada, and William Sargent worked on the program in London. The MKUltra scientists made use of torture. From the 1940s onward, the Arthur G. Dozier School in Marianna in Florida was a home for boys. It is situated near a military base and may be linked to the CIA's MKUltra mind control program. When the children are being mind controlled, he's often forced to watch the murder of another child. Excavators have discovered at least 50 bodies buried on the grounds of the school, which was shut down in 2011. In 2008, the governor of Florida, Charlie Crist, was forced to launch an investigation into the hundreds of unmarked graves located at the school. I do remember hearing about that one. Rape, torture, and murder took place at this school in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Dick Colin said he was forced to lie face down on a blood-soaked pillow that had small pieces of lip, tongue, and skin from the previous boy's beating. Colin recalls looking through the steamed-up window of a tumble dryer in the school laundry and seeing a black boy inside, churning round and round. In the 1950s and 60s in Northern Ireland, there was a Nazi-style abuse of children in children care homes. One former resident says that he was in a chain gang polishing floors, bathed in detergent as punishment, and sexually assaulted by a woman when he was aged 5 or 6. The top Zionists and the top Nazis worked together. In the mid-1950s, the charity Colonia Dignidad was set up in Chile by a Jewish Nazi called Paul Schaefer Schneider. Reportedly, The three-letter agency, Mossad, and the West German Secret Service used Colonia Dignidad for experiments involving the torture and mind control of kidnapped children. It was known since 1964 that the members of the commune were being subjected to torture. It was known since 1977 that political prisoners were tortured there, and the child abuse was known about since the 1970s. Germans in the colony knew how to keep a person alive for several days or weeks while putting him or her through the most terrible agony and humiliation. Colonia Dignidad, I hope I'm not butchering that name, is said to have links to a large number of Nazis linked to Operation Paperclip, MK Ultra brainwashing, satanic ritual abuse, AmeriCares, the Knights of Malta, and the Vatican. German authorities investigated charges that from 30 to 40 children reported missing from the Bonn and Cologne areas wound up at Colonia Dignidad. The primary liaison between Colonia Dignidad and Pinochet regime was an American three-letter agency agent named Michael Townley, who also served as a member of the Chilean secret police, in addition to helping plan the military coup that ousted Allende. In 1956, John Ross led a fact-finding committee investigating Australian children's homes to which British children had been sent. He wanted 26 institutions blacklisted. His report was ignored by the government. Large numbers of children have been tortured and raped in children's care homes in Australia. And the three-letter agency is said to control the key people in Australia. Often the police have been involved in the abuse. 2 journalists from Australia's Sun Herald claimed to see evidence of the satanic ritual abuse of children. They interviewed 6 mothers whose children had disclosed experiences of satanic ritual abuse and organized abuse in New South Wales. Now, in 1957, Kathy O'Brien was born. She became a child victim of the mind control government project named Project Monarch, part of the MK Ultra. She recalls that as a child she was sexually abused by international pedophile rings, drug barons, and Satanists. In 1957, 11-year-old Moira Anderson was last seen boarding a bus in Coatbridge, near Glasgow, Scotland. According to the Sunday Times, on the 23rd of April 2006, Strathclyde Police have a dossier listing members of a child abuse ring. The dossier is said to implicate senior public figures, including senior police officers and members of the Crown Office and former Scottish Office. Now, the Bexley Boys' Home in Australia opened in 1915 and closed in 1979. From the 60s and 70s onward, boys were being rented out for abuse at a Salvation Army boys' home in Australia. The man named F.V. told police that in 1974, the superintendent of the Bexley home, Captain Lawrence Wilson, introduced him to a woman in Salvation Army uniform who was accompanied by a man. F.V. said they took him back to their home and sexually abused him. In 1960, Jimmy Savile visited Elvis Presley in California. Elvis is said to have been mind-controlled. Billy Briers, the son of an oil magnate, ran a boy brothel at the summit of Laurel Canyon in California. Customers at the boy brothel were said to include J. Edgar Hoover and his quote-unquote gay partner, Clyde Tolson. California is a major site for three-letter agency mind control experiments. In 1961, in the UK, the Conservative Party's Monday Club was set up. Its members have included Harvey Procter, Rhodes Boyson, and Peter Bottomley. Members of the Monday Club are said to have visited the Elm Guest House boy brothel and taken young boys to Amsterdam. The Elm House has been linked to MI5. In 1963, John Wetterer was active in Vietnam. John Wetterer set up the Shoeshine Boys Foundation. Allegedly, the Shoeshine Boys was a pedophile ring serving the American military. Wetterer was helped by Robert McCauley, the founder of AmeriCares, an organization which has been linked to the three-letter agency. Twisted tale. In 1963, Winston Churchill's close friend, Lord Boothby, was introduced to the Cray twins. The Cray twins were murderous gangsters who reportedly supplied young boys to the elite. The Cray twins reportedly had a connection to the security services. Canada has been a major center of three-letter agency mind control experiments. In 1964, William Combs says he witnessed the abduction of 10 fellow residential school children by the Queen of you-know-where and her husband in October of 1964 at the Catholic school in Kamloops, British Columbia, Canada. In the 1960s, child abuse was taking place at the Kinkora Boys' Home in Belfast. Reportedly, Kinkora was run as a boy brothel by MI5, which wanted to blackmail and control certain political leaders. Jimmy Savile used to visit Northern Ireland. In 1963, a male victim came forward to claim that Jimmy Savile raped him in Cheshire, but was told by police to, quote, forget about it, end quote. From 1965 to 1988, Sir Jimmy Savile was a volunteer porter and fundraiser at Stoke Mandeville Hospital. He had his own quarters there. Reportedly, satanic ritual abuse took place at the hospital. In 1965, Greystone Heath approved school for boys in Warrington was being used by a child abuse ring. In 1966, Lord Mountbatten introduced Savile to Prince Philip. In 1966, Jimmy Savile was awarded an honorary Green Beret by the Royal Marines. Awarded an honorary Green Beret. Wow. In 1966, Michael Trestrail, linked to the Guest House boy brothel, became the Duke of Edinburgh's personal police officer. This is kind of convenient. In 1967, Prince Edward became the Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of England and governing body of Freemasonry in England and Wales. In 1967, Jimmy Savile's nephew, 13-year-old Guy Marsden, was frequently taken to the homes of wealthy celebrities. In these homes, men sexually abused girls and boys as young as 10, with Savile present. In 1969, Savile visited the island of Jersey, famous for child abuse, child torture, and child murder. In 1969, the BBC Savile recorded Christmas songs of praise from Calder High School. The BBC is said to be run by the security services. Its key employees usually have links to the military and Israel. From at least the 1970s onward, boys were being sexually abused at Boys Town in Omaha. Larry King got children for his Franklin child abuse ring from Boys Town in Omaha. Child victims said that King took part in the satanic ritual murder of children. The Washington Post, New York Times, Village Voice, and National Law Journal referred to the accusations. King was linked to Iran-Contra. King was said to have provided the CIA with information gained from the users of the child sex ring. From 1969, Warwick Spinks was caught on secret camera offering to supply a video in which a 10-year-old boy was killed and another featuring the horrific abuse of a young boy. The untouchable Warwick Spinks built businesses and bought properties in South Africa, Namibia, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Switzerland, France, and England. In the early 1970s, soldier John Peters, who helped make the Bjorn tape video involving the horrific sex assault of an 8-year-old boy, managed to go absent without leave. In the 1970s and 1980s, pedophile rings for top people were operating in children's care homes in Islington in London. This happened under the watch of Margaret Hodge, the Islington politician who is a friend of Tony Blair. In the 1970s, Sir Jimmy Savile becomes a regular visitor to the Haute de la Garenne and children's care home on child abuse island of Jersey. In 1970, there was the first recorded instance of child abuse by Sir Jimmy Savile at Duncroft School in Surrey. Now, in 70, Edward Heath, who was a frequent visitor to the child abuse island of Jersey, became prime minister. In 71, Claire Alpine, who had been a young dancer on BBC TV, committed suicide at the age of 15. In her diary, she named show business personalities whom she claimed had used her. The allegations were dismissed by the police and by BBC, and Jimmy Savile denied having known her. In 72, Father Bruce Ritter, a vice president of AmeriCares, set up a charity called Covenant House as a cover for a pedophile ring. In 73, Michael Trestrail, linked to Guest House, became the Queen's bodyguard. And in 73 to 82, children from Grafton Close Children's Home were being abused at the Guest House by top people. From 74 to 90, child abuse rings were operating at various children's homes in North Wales. Margaret Thatcher's close friend, Sir Peter Morrison, and Mick Alpine were reportedly involved. In the mid-70s, the Pedophile Information Exchange, or PI, was active in promoting the idea of legalizing sex with children over 4. PI was financed and organized by people linked to the security services, reportedly. In 75, Prince Edward served as president of the Scout Association. In 75, Project MKUltra was brought to the public's attention by the Church Committee of the U.S. Congress. In 75, Jimmy Savile made a 10-day state visit to Israel. He met President Ephraim Katzer and Jerusalem Mayor Teddy Kollek, and was organized by John Levi of the Friends of Israel Educational Trust. In 75, Sir Jimmy Savile reportedly beat and raped a girl at Stoke Mandeville Hospital as part of a satanic ritual with other adults in the hospital basement. He chanted, "Hail Satan," in Latin. From 75 to 80, we had the Yorkshire Ripper murder spree. Jimmy Savile was viewed as a suspect in the Ripper murders and was questioned by West Yorkshire police. Molds were taken of his teeth. In 76, Jimmy Savile at Haute de la Garenne on the child abuse island of Jersey sexually abused John, who was age 10 at the time of the assault. 2 top police officers have claimed that Jersey's Haute de la Garenne care home was at the center of a well-protected pedophile ring. Now, from 75 to 76, Francis D. Sheldon owned North Fox Island in Lake Michigan. The island was a major center of child abuse activity. Reportedly, Sheldon is actually Frank Torrey, the editor of Spartacus and Pan, along with John Stanford. The Oakland County Child Killer is an unidentified serial killer responsible for the murders of 4 or more children, 2 girls and 2 boys for short, in Oakland County, Michigan, in 76 and 77. It's been alleged that Frank Torrey, was the killer, so Frank Sheldon and Frank Torrey, same person. In 76, Jimmy Savile was in Belfast, the site of the Kincora Boys Home Brothel, and several mysterious killings of children. In 76, John Hugh Wetterer, a Vietnam War veteran, founded an orphanage in Guatemala City called Mikasa. According to reports, it becomes a center of child abuse. In 77, in London, Peter Wrighton and other members of PI began sexually abusing an 11-year-old boy. The abuse continued for several years. Sir Cyril Smith and other VIPs were allegedly involved. From 79 to 81, an 11-year-old called Vincent was being abused at Elm Guest House and at a house in notorious Bexhill. In 79, Margaret Thatcher became the UK Prime Minister. In 79, Martin Allen, 15, disappeared. He was last seen by a friend at King's Cross Tube Station as he made his way home from school. A man and a boy were seen acting suspiciously at Earl's Court, just a few miles from Elm Guest House. A photo fit of the man bears a remarkable resemblance to Harvey Proctor. Yeah, so that's where this one ends. Lots of questions still, but that is a date-by-date trail of how this came to be. This is where we're going to end this one. Horde. It's been going on for so long. So many names, so many people. But let me know what you think.